it might be your fault or someone else's fault for your current circumstance. It's not a good use of your time or energy to define whose fault it is. I don't care whose fault it is. It's still your responsibility to change the tide, to shift the momentum. It will be your responsibility.
Hi, this is Tim Westbrook. Welcome to I Love Being Sober. We talk about life and recovery, mental health, biohacking, alternative therapies, and everything related to living a kick-ass sober life. So let's dig in. So take us back to 2018. What was going on in your life at that time that brought you to what you now call your low point?
Yeah, the end of 2018, specifically September, October, November, that whole period was my rock bottom. And I found myself in a very toxic marriage, a very toxic situation that I had to escape from. This was not a situation where I sat down with my ex-wife and asked for a divorce. I packed my things and I left.
Okay.
It was an escape. Absolutely. And, to throw kind of like a funny but not funny spin on this, I've always found it interesting that when you watch a TV show or a movie where the husband leaves, he's always branded as the bad guy. Mm-hmm. He's the evil doer.
Right.
And I'm like, when are we going to see a TV show or a movie that explains what drove that man to that decision? Because you do not run away from a marriage unless you were in a toxic, unhealthy environment. And at least that was my experience. Right. And I just don't ever see that portrayed in media. And I'd be like, for once, it would be nice to see like a realistic. Anyways, that's just like the funny, not funny spin on things. But I found myself in a situation where after the counseling, after all of the discussions, after all the effort to salvage and save the marriage, it just wasn't happening.
Now, how long were you guys together? How long were you together? How long were you married for?
Yeah, the entire relationship was 3 years, but the marriage was a year and a half.
Okay.
So we did move quite quickly, actually. Yeah.
And how long did it take before you knew that you needed to leave? Or that it wasn't going to work out?
It was a gradual thing for sure, and things just progressed and got worse and worse and worse. The pastor who married us was actually giving us the counseling.
Okay.
And so he was, and we were broke, so we weren't even paying him, if I'm being brutal. But the man is a pure angel and wanted to help us.
Okay.
And unfortunately, things were just not going. It was one of those situations where he would coach us on something and things would improve for like a day or 2 days. Mm-hmm. And then she would revert back to just really unhealthy habits. And I don't want to turn this into like an ex-wife bashing session because that's not what I'm about. And I want to make sure that we're adding value to the viewer and the listener here. But essentially what happened was we reached a point where the pastor wanted to have one-on-one sessions with us. Okay. I'll say this just to paint a picture. We had one-on-one sessions, and the pastor says to me, "You're familiar with the term rose-colored glasses, right? When someone looks at reality but doesn't see reality." Now, yes, I know we're all living in the Matrix. Right. We all look at the world through our own filter. Right. I get it. Yeah. I get that. But some people just are off in la-la land. They're a little oblivious with what the reality is that everyone else can see, but for whatever reason, they can't see.
Right.
So my pastor at that time says, your at the time wife has rose-colored contact lenses.
Okay.
And I was like, oh geez. So this
was that the first time you'd heard that?
First time I'd ever heard him say that.
Or realize that?
Yeah. It was kind of like my wake-up call.
Okay.
And she knew we were struggling. Like we were getting counseling. Like we were trying to seek help, right? Like this was not a surprise.
Right.
And then in one of those sessions where we're sitting down with him together, all three of us, he looks at her and says, "Your marriage is in crisis and your husband has checked out." Mm-hmm. I don't know how you can be more blunt than that.
Right.
And yet when I finally packed my bags and left, I think it was approximately a month or 2 months after that exact conversation, she was surprised. She acted as if she didn't know where this was coming from.
Wow.
And I left. And I literally had nowhere to go. Now, that's not because I didn't have friends or people that cared about me. We were living in Vancouver at the time, which is one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in. Mm-hmm. And the few friends that I reached out to that were in that immediate vicinity, everyone lives in small apartments, like They're like, Andrew, I would love to have you come crash here for a bit, but we got no room for you. I'm so sorry. So finally, a friend of a friend had a spare bedroom that he wasn't using, but there's no bed in it.
Okay.
So I'm like, it's fine.
I'll take it.
I got an air mattress. Yeah,
Right.
storage.
Okay.
I'll see you and blah, blah, blah. Right. So I gave him $600. It was the last money to my name. And I rented that spare bedroom for 6 weeks, $100 a week.
Wow.
And that was my rock bottom. When I'm laying on that air mattress, staring at the ceiling, just left my first ever marriage and feeling like the world's biggest loser, swimming in debt. I mean, swimming, mine and hers.
Okay.
Because I don't need to go into it, but there was it like that. You know, what do they say? Like the primary breakup reason in marriage is like financial.
Right.
Yeah, it was a huge contributing factor. So in Canada, we have the CRA, that's our IRS. I'm talking like garnishing wages. Like we were like on the verge of bankruptcy.
Okay.
And for the life of me, I couldn't, no matter how many conversations we had around sitting down and talking about money, and it just never penetrated.
What was she addicted to? Like, what was her solution? I guess her solution. What did she numb out with?
That's actually really great. It's almost like you're an expert at this stuff. It's almost like you know what you're talking about. Numbing out. That's a really great phrase.
I mean, because that's why she lacked, in my opinion, and that's one of the reasons she lacked awareness. Because anytime she would start to feel the pain, get a little bit get uncomfortable, she could just numb out, and she wouldn't even have to deal with it.
Okay. So I didn't know until after we were married that she hadn't paid her taxes in 6 years.
Woo!
Okay. So, you know, the saying, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Right.
So imagine the kind of decisions a person like that would make when they actively avoid their own responsibilities. And I didn't know this. But how many people do you talk to who are about to get married? Like, I didn't even think to ask that. Hey, by the way, babe, are you all caught up in your taxes? I didn't even think to ask that.
Right.
And now I feel like a dummy because we didn't do the premarital counseling, which probably would have surfaced some of these questions.
Right.
Should have done that. But to answer your question, she cultivated ways to avoid and just numb her own responsibilities. And there was absolutely drinking was a problem. It was something that ran in her family, and it was something that was discussed on a regular basis. But she was not open to completely eliminating alcohol from her life. That was not an option for her because of her lifestyle and the lifestyle she wanted to live. And there was definitely some anger management issues. You know, in society, men are supposed to be the rock. Right. We're supposed to be the foundation.
Right.
There's a lot of pressure on us to hold. We're the glue that's supposed to hold it.
That's like masculine energy.
Yeah.
Masculine energy. You're the rock. Nothing can twist you up, supposedly.
So when your life is going off the rails and things are going bad quickly, I took it personally. I took it like how come I can't keep like my own? How come I can't even convince my own partner to see the reality and the dire situation that we're in? Because it was like she was oblivious, like she just couldn't see. And like I'm talking anger, like smashing glasses and like just like there was there was a little bit of violence. There's definitely mental and emotional abuse. There was definitely like there's a lot of manipulative things going on. And then one day, I'm at my computer. It was a very different career, very different place in my life, but I'm a workaholic, and I'm at my computer at like 9 o'clock at night. And this is not a weird thing for me. I was working crazy long hours because.
Have you always been a workaholic?
Yeah. Looking back. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like you and I both know Dr. Doug Brackman.
Yes.
And I took his assessment. I'm absolutely driven. I'm sure you are.
Yes. Yep.
Our brains just work differently.
Right.
And, we're very ADHD. We're very, to a certain degree on the spectrum, right? We're very entrepreneurial. We're very, what are the problems? And let's solve those problems. We're very that kind of A type of personality. And so I'm hustling, trying to solve these problems in our lives because I knew things were bad.
Right.
And it's like 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night. And she comes home. And it's off. Like the energy just like, what the, like I could tell. Like you just, when you're with someone every day, you can tell when there's like the air just changed in the room.
Okay.
So I asked her like, what's going on? And she's like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, no. Something's going on. You better tell me what's going on.
Right.
And then finally I wore her down and she's like, okay, promise me you won't get mad. That never starts well. Like, that's a terrible thing to ask somebody. What do you mean promise me? I don't even know what we're talking about. And so she had just come home from the casino. And she said, like, I know we're struggling. I know things are hard right now. And I thought I could go to the casino and just solve all of our problems. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's exactly what she said.
Okay.
And she had lost all of her money. She had nothing, literally nothing.
Wow.
And she's like, I don't have enough money for rent. At this point, I was paying for her phone. I was paying for a lot of things, but we were still splitting the rent 50-50. Mm-hmm. And I think rent was due in like 11 days. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't planning on paying the whole rent because I was already paying all the other stuff, and I was planning on paying half the rent.
Right.
And I was like, I remember I was very numb in that moment. I remember just kind of like taking a breath and leaning back, and just the first words out of my mouth, if I remember correctly, was something to the effect of, we can figure this out. Because again, the pressure is typically on the man to solve problems. Mm-hmm. We're not typically, not always, like I'm generalizing here when I say this stuff, but I figured, okay, we can figure this out. I have 11 days. I have 11 days to come up with like what I don't even remember. It was like $700 or something.
We'll figure it out.
Which is so funny for me to say that now, but in those days it could have been $1 million, right? So it was, I mean, I'm not perfect either. I like made plenty of mistakes in that marriage, right? It takes two to tango, but I just kind of painted you a picture of what my life was like. And it was just like constant, like, put this fire out, put this fire out, put this fire out. And it was like living in a constant state of emergency. I was constantly surrounded by danger. And I was always on the lookout for danger.
Constant chaos.
That's what it felt like. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned coming up with $700. It might as well be $1 million. It's kind of. I was just talking with my friend about that yesterday. About sober living is one of the things that we offer as part of our treatment program, and it's an additional cost. And it's like, okay, maybe we should bring that cost down from $2,000 to like $1,000, or even not even talk about the money. Because if you're asking somebody who doesn't have any money for $1,000, it's like asking for $1 million. Yeah. It's like they don't have the money. They don't have a way to come up with the money.
Yeah. They don't even know where they're getting their next meal. And then, but your service is obviously valuable enough, and you still have a business to run. You got expenses. So it's a constant balancing act for you, I'm sure.
It is. So let's, I'm thinking about as we're talking, you attracted your ex-wife. What's her name? Lindsay. So you're in this relationship with Lindsay, and obviously it takes two to tango. Did you ever look at yourself and say, okay, why did I attract that? Why was I okay with that? And I'm sure that today you've grown and you probably wouldn't be in that type of a relationship again. But back then, what was it about you that was okay with being in that relationship? And why do you think you attracted her?
Yeah, I've given that a lot of thought. I've given that because whenever, I think any divorced person probably spends a lot of time in self-reflection, understanding, where did I go wrong? How did I find myself in this situation? You know, the old, what's that? The boiling the frog, like when you put the dog in the water.
Yes. Yeah, you slowly put it there. Yes.
That's the best analogy I can give you.
Okay. And like you didn't know what you were getting into.
Well, and then to zoom out and look at the whole lifespan, I did see some parallels. I was like, wait a second. I grew up in a household with a parent that very much struggled with alcohol and anger management, and it wasn't until I was old enough to have some very mature conversations with my mom, where she kind of filled me in on some things.
Right.
And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. So
you were married to this alcoholic man, where she literally would have to, actually I should mention this. So, it's true what they say. You can't choose your family, but my mom would have to take my dad's credit card for him on Friday when he gets home from work. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't allowed to get the credit card back until Monday morning.
Okay.
And I've never even heard of but that's paints you a picture of what their relationship was like.
Right.
And I didn't think of doing anything like that with my ex-wife, but clearly that's something I probably should have considered.
Right.
So my mom had like two little boys in her house and an alcoholic that obviously ended in a painful divorce. My parents separated when I was like 10 or 11 years old, very impressionable age. And it's funny how, decisions as an adult are often influenced by our childhood. And I didn't always believe that to be true, but I went through all of high school in 2 homes. So my friends would always ask, oh yeah, your mom's or your dad's? So I had 2 pairs of pets, 2 backyards, 2 bedrooms. I never unpacked my bag.
So they live close enough to where you could just go back and forth.
Yeah, it was like across the bridge. One was on one side of the bridge, the other one was on the other side of the bridge. And you just said during my intro, like, what am I right now? I'm a digital nomad. I don't have a home. Yeah. I've been homeless since 2019. Like I don't like it's a chosen homeless now. Right. But I grew up in a certain way, and now as an adult, I live a very abnormal lifestyle. Like when people hear about how I live, they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, for real. Like this is a chosen lifestyle." I mean, it was kind of weird, maybe pre-2020, and then COVID obviously screwed some things up. But now it's like the sexy thing to do to be a digital nomad, and I'm like, well, no, this lifestyle kind of chose me. I didn't choose it, right? And it's my normal. But then to go back, so grew up in a household with that environment, and then when I got old enough for my mom to kind of educate me on some things, I actually hid a lot about my marriage from my mom.
Okay,
because I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I couldn't influence my own partner to make better decisions. I felt like I was like, how, like, and no matter what good decisions that I tried to make to improve our financial situation, improve our quality of life, then it would be like another fire to put out. That's how it, like, no matter if I got us 1 step forward, I felt like I was being dragged 3 steps back. And I said some pretty colorful things to the pastor who was, counseling us. I was like, I feel like I'm treading water in the ocean and the waves are kicking my ass. And I got this, like, this metal ball, in a chain, with the analogy there, the chain and ball, the chain and ball and chain, like wrapped around my ankle, dragging me down. Like that's exactly how it felt. And so when I finally had the courage to actually sit down with my mom, like, I got some things I got to tell you. That was hard. That was probably one of the hardest conversations I've ever had in my life. And
was that after you left her or
before I left?
Before you left.
Before I left. Okay. And this is I would have actually planned on sharing this story, but it's important. I shared with my mom what had been happening for a long time.
Okay.
And she says to me, "You have to end this marriage." And I never thought my mom would say that.
Right.
And she was very stern with me, and she's like, "Listen, I was married to your father for 17 years, and I know exactly what you're going through. And you've done everything you possibly can to salvage things. So there's only one solution left." And I was surprised to, like, without my mom supporting me during that time, I wouldn't have had the courage. We'd be bankrupt by now. I don't know what situation, like, I don't know if I would have had the courage. She supported me. She pushed me.
Wow.
And I said something to her. She was like, I can't remember what the exact context of the conversation was, but she said something to me like, "Well, why would you stand for this? Or why would you put up with this?" Something to that effect. And I was like, "Well, you know the old saying, Mom, happy wife, happy life." And my mom, who's like this tiny 5'2", sweet, like never swears in her whole life, she's like, "That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard." And I was like, "Mom," like I'd never heard her like swear like that before.
Right.
And I was like, it was kind of like the wake up call.
Right.
It was like just getting like slapped right across the face. And I was like, okay. And then I saw a window of opportunity and I packed my shit and I left.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I'm thinking about as I'm hearing you talk is, the path of least resistance is always to go back to what we know. And thinking about what you grew up with, you grew up watching your parents, watching your dad, watching your mom. And so the path of least resistance is always to, you look at the past with rose-colored glasses, and then you justify why it's okay. And it's more comfortable, even though it's chaos, even though it's not good. It doesn't make you feel good. You feel it creates more or promotes you to feel restless, irritable, discontent, and, unhappy in your life. But the path of least resistance is just to go back to what you know. Yeah. So it's hard to leave. It's hard to get sober. It's hard to leave a marriage. But, with the support of somebody else like your mother, that sounds like it was really helpful for you.
Oh, big time. And I actually don't have a relationship with my dad. It's been many, many years. I couldn't even tell you how many years, but, because that relationship, was damaged to the point where it didn't make sense to continue. And then, but I do have a relationship with my mom. I FaceTime with her every Sunday, and my girlfriend and I both FaceTime with her every single Sunday. Okay. And she came down and actually spent 3 weeks with us down here in Costa Rica here recently.
Great.
She had a blast, and yeah, we have a very healthy relationship. I don't want to think about where I would be right now if it wasn't for my mom to kind of give me that. Sometimes, yeah, you just need that loved one to give you that push. It like, thank you for saying that, because it is hard to leave a marriage. Mm-hmm. It takes guts. It takes, and like maybe I'll end with this, and then we could probably move on to talk about the next thing. But for the life of me, I was really afraid of making a mistake, and I thought, what if I miss her? To this day, and I can say to this day, I've never for a single second missed my ex-wife. So that was embarrassing, because I was like, how could I possibly marry that I could then leave and not miss? And I had a conversation probably 3 months after the separation with a very close friend of mine. And I said that to him. I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, how does this make sense? And he's like, well, because you went through all the stages of loss while you were still married to her. Mm. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then really quickly, so at the time we did have a mutual friend. I don't think they're in touch anymore, but I was crashing on their couch because I had nowhere to go. This was the beginning of me becoming a digital nomad. And I was crashing on their couch, and she says to me, because she had stayed in touch with my ex-wife, I'm like, I don't want to hear anything. Don't tell me. She's like, no. I feel like I got to tell you this one thing. I don't want to know. And she's like, no, Andrew, just shut up and let me say this. After you left, she said something to me that I thought was pretty interesting. And I was like, okay. And she's like, well, she said, I must have really hurt him because he's sleeping on an air mattress. So even after everything, she still didn't understand. Right. Everything just went over her head. Right. So that was a painful lesson for me, that the only thing we'll ever have true agency over, control, influence over, is ourselves. Right. I have full control over my actions and my words. I will never be able to influence someone else's actions or behavior. Never. Right. And that was a really important lesson, because now I'm a marketer, right? And I spend a lot of time, Joe Polish says we know each other through Genius Network. Uh-huh. And Joe Polish says this all the time. Marketing is applied psychology. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a psychologist, but I spend a lot of time thinking about persuasion, ethical persuasion, and what motivates or influences someone to take an action. Mm-hmm. Spent a lot of my time obsessing about stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I think the failed marriage was just an incredible gift for me. Yeah. I can truly look back at the worst time in my life, and I could say, I'm the man I am today because of that. Yeah. Sometimes you got to go through rock bottom.
Well, life happens for me, not to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you know, so I'm thinking about several things as you're talking. Do you know, step 1 in Alcoholics Anonymous, step 1 in the 12-step program, right? I'm powerless. Yeah. And so step 1, I'm powerless over alcohol. I'm powerless over drugs and alcohol. My life has become unmanageable. Yeah. Al-Anon, step 1, I'm powerless over people, places, and things.
My mom was in that.
And so it's that I always, that for me, I'm no longer, more step 1 for me nowadays is I'm powerless over people, places, and things. I don't need to be in control. I don't need to try to get people to think a certain way or change, because when because then that means I'm playing God. You know what I mean? And it's exhausting, it's overwhelming, and things never work out exactly the way that you want them to. So it's like taking action, and then you got to kind of turn it over and let things play out the way that they're supposed to play out.
Absolutely. I love that. Yes. Fantastic. Fantastic way to break it down.
Makes it much easier. The other thing I was thinking about is, having hard conversations, which, one of Joe Polish always says this, one of, Dave Kekich Crudo's.
Right, yeah.
Life is easy if you live it the hard way.
Yeah.
And hard if you live it the easy way.
Right.
And I think about hard conversations when I think about that.
Yeah.
And so prior to me getting sober and working the steps, I was always, when I would get out of a relationship, it was always cheat, turn into an asshole, and don't have the hard conversation and just leave.
And let it play out.
And let it play out. And they would leave me because I turned into such an asshole. Whereas now being in recovery, I know that having the hard conversation, and then, there's a huge relief on the other side of that hard conversation, which you were finally able to get to. And you said you packed your things and you left. And so tell me about that quickly?
That's interesting because no one ever asked me that question. I think about that. No one ever asked me that you're the first person to ask me that specific question.
Okay.
I packed one box.
Okay.
And I told myself, pack one box, see how it feels.
Okay.
That's exactly how it played out. I packed a box and I sat back. I felt okay. It didn't scare me. Packed another box or another bag or whatever. And then before I knew it, everything was packed and I was gone.
Okay. Just like that.
I actually cleaned the entire apartment top to bottom. I lit incense. I just knew it was going to be a stressful moment. I typed up a letter, left the letter, and incense, and just made the place super crystal clean, and just.
So she found out that you were like. How did she find out that you left her?
I told her in person because I actually, when I said I saw a window of opportunity, she was on a trip.
Okay.
So I had to pick her up from the airport.
Okay. So you packed your things, picked her up from the airport.
Yes, I did.
Had the conversation.
Yes, I did. Yeah. The conversation was in person. Absolutely.
Okay.
And as difficult as the conversation was in person, I'll actually say that the chat that I mentioned earlier about my mom, that was harder.
Okay.
It was, it wasn't easy telling my ex-wife.
You teed it up. It wasn't just like, boom, have the conversation. It was, you packed your things one box at a time.
Yeah.
You cleaned up. You had time to process. You had time leading up to the actual conversation. Yeah. So you leave.
Yeah. But, it's a simple answer to your really deep question. I packed a box and then I wanted to see how it felt, and nothing about, there were no feelings of fear. It felt like I was like doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing. Okay, good. Okay. So I think we already talked about that. All right, so now this is where your story takes an unexpected turn. Instead of traditional therapy, you turn to YouTube, right? And so what was it about YouTube videos that made them feel like a lifeline at that time?
Well, when you're at rock bottom and you don't have two pennies to rub together, I turned to free university. I turned to YouTube. I like to consider YouTube the world's content resource library. And I had already started my journey down to like the personal development, professional development. I'd already like started learning about Tony Robbins and reading books and watching certain YouTube videos. But when I was laying on that air mattress, convinced I was the world's biggest loser, it was my only lifeline. I'll say YouTube saved my life. YouTube totally saved my life. And I started binge watching these videos. I'll use a specific example. Sometimes people want to know what exactly. It's unfortunate. I shouldn't say unfortunate. He's essentially retired. Last I checked, the YouTube channel is still live and up. But there's a specific YouTube channel called Project Life Mastery. And the man's name behind that channel is Stephen James. Him and his wife and their two kids and dog. They're retired down in Panama, not far from here. And they built their wealth and they hung it up. And they're loving life. But back in those days, when I was living in downtown Vancouver, I was literally 35 seconds from his apartment building.
Okay.
And before I had ended the marriage, I scrapped together $5,000, which was an incredible sum of money for me at the time, to sign up for his first ever mastermind. And people flew in from all over Canada, all over the United States, because he was already a very successful and respected thought leader at the time. And I got to meet some incredible people, and that was like 8 years ago now. I saw a Facebook memory pop up recently where he's a picture of all of us.
Time flies.
Yeah, man. And I remember when I was on that air mattress, I can point to very specific YouTube channels, very specific YouTube videos to just help me completely reframe my life and fix things. Because yes, I had to fix my financial situation. I had to fix my health and wellness because that was a mess. But most importantly, I had to fix my mindset. And the old saying, like I'm full of these stupid old sayings today, but you're the average of the 5 people you spend most of the time.
100%.
And when you can't get access to high quality people because you can't afford their mastermind or whatever, guess what you can do? You can watch free YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Because if the expert is worth their salt, they don't hold back. So Alex Hormozi talks about this all the time right now. Give everything away for free, charge for implementation. Give them what they want, charge for what they need.
Okay.
And this would likely apply to Camelback as well.
Definitely.
Right? Give them what they need, what they want, charge for what they need. And so the truly best of the best out there, when they hit the record button and make a YouTube video, this is how YouTube works. The cream of the crop, the best performing content is only the best performing content because it typically has the most value to the viewer. And when the viewer is watching, this is how winning on YouTube isn't complicated. It's hard to execute, but the strategy is actually quite simple. Step 1, get the viewer. Step 2, keep the viewer. Step 3, get the viewer back. If you can successfully execute these 3 steps, your YouTube channel will blow up.
Right.
And if your content is powerful enough and makes an impact, adds value to the viewer, then people will be more encouraged to watch all the way through and then watch another one of your episodes. And when you can convince a viewer to binge watch multiple videos in a single session, man, oh man, the YouTube algorithm picks up on that. The algorithms pick up on that and then will serve your content to that many more people, right? That's exactly how you dominate on YouTube. And so when you don't have 2 pennies to rub together, and I'm watching these fantastic videos from just incredibly successful people, they are getting compensated.
Right.
They're 1000% getting compensated with my view, my watch time. If I hit the subscribe button, if I comment on the video, if I share the video with friends of mine, they are being compensated because that's how YouTube rewards them by ads. Me watching the ads, they get 55% of the revenue, right? But more importantly, that attribution. YouTube always rewards attention. Influence always comes before income. So with me binge watching every single video that Stephen James uploads on Project Like Mastery, that was like my daily dose of like, come on, Andrew, you can do this. He was, when you watch a YouTuber or when you consume a lot of content, after enough time, you feel like you know them. You just feel, so then when you see them in person, you're like, hey, Stephen, what's going on? And they're like, I've never met you before.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You know, I think about, you know, they say you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and they say stick with the winners. And the problem when you're I mean, I'm you know, speaking to someone newly in recovery, they say stick with the winners. The winners don't want to hang out with you yet because the winners want to hang out with other winners. You know, so I'm just thinking about YouTube as one of the ways you can level up. Because it's free content, because you gotta, you know, it's like you go out, you get sober, you're at rock bottom, you're just like, you know, you don't have 2 nickels to rub together. And the people that you want to be like, you know, the people that you're trying to aspire to be, probably don't want to hang out with you yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
However, you know, what's the quickest path to get there? And I would argue that listening and studying some of the materials of these guys on YouTube or other platforms. I mean, YouTube's a great platform for someone to learn and grow and develop and get kind of to that next level, or help them get to that next level.
Yeah. Well, and there's some human, like if I can geek out with you for a quick second. There's some human psychological reasons why YouTube is so successful. Okay. So Edgar Dale was an American education expert. Back in 1946, he invented something called the cone of experience, cone of learning.
Okay.
And what it showed us was, when you read something, on average, you only retain 10% of what you've learned.
Right.
But when you move down the cone of experience, and just Google this, YouTube this, it's all over the place. If you move down the cone of experience, watching a video on the exact same subject, your retention goes up 3x to 30%.
Okay. So if you listen, it's 10%. You watch a video, it's 30%.
If you're reading a book, it's 10%.
Reading a book is 10%.
Yeah.
But what if you just listen?
I think audio was 20%. Don't quote me. If you Google it'll be on there.
Okay, so read at 10%, 20% is when you listen.
When you engage in more human sensory input.
Okay.
The brain has more information to process, and because have you ever read Atomic Habits, James Clear?
Partially, yes.
So the book, if you haven't read it, it's fantastic. But if you have read it, really quick, there are 11 million sensory receptors in the human body.
Okay.
10 million of them are dedicated to sight.
Okay.
There's a reason why we're just a very visually dominant species, and our brains absorb so much. So that is the most important. But if you can engage with multiple sensory input and tactile, right? When you go down the cone of experience, when you have to demonstrate something, when you have to give a presentation, like when I'm on stage or you're on stage at a conference and you're giving a presentation, you will retain 90% of what actually occurred at that event. So you're learning way more than the people in the audience.
Right.
But that's just because you're actively engaged and they're passively engaged. So that's the danger about YouTube. So if you're practicing sobriety, you're looking to improve your life in some aspect, and you're watching YouTube videos, try to find some way to actively engage. This is why Tony Robbins makes people jump up and down like idiots at his events, because he's trying to make sure you retain everything that you're learning. And if you're just sitting back, this is another reason why there's standing treadmills. And when you're watching a YouTube video and you're just like moving, like that actually will increase your ability to attain what you're doing. A lot of people doing that on their Zoom calls now these days and everything. It's a fantastic way to just getting some movement in. But anyways, I went off on a tangent there. What was the last thing you just said to me there?
I don't remember.
Okay. Anyways, that was fun.
Yeah. Well, and I think about someone who has ADHD like myself. I mean, the way I learn, typically, if I'm in a classroom and if I'm in the back row, forget it. I'm not going to remember anything.
Me too.
However, if I'm in the front row, or we're in the first couple rows, I'm in a lecture hall with 500 people. I got to be like, first couple of rows, I got to be like raising my hand, having a conversation with the professor. Oh, yeah. That's how I learn. Yeah. Otherwise, I walk out of that classroom, I'm like, I have no clue what happened.
Yeah. So in YouTube, maybe it's a live stream where you're actually asking your questions in the chat. Right. Hopefully the creator is paying attention. I have a team member who's paying attention. So a live stream would be able to more interactively engage. Right. But that's why I said this. That's the danger around passively learning about how to improve your life, whether it's addiction or something else. Be mindful that yes, you're retaining 30% instead of 10% because you're not reading, you're actually watching a video. But if you really want to hack your own psychology, find a way to actually interact. So a fantastic example would be like if the creator says, hey, comment your question down below. I'll answer all questions for the first hour after I upload this video. Sometimes creators will do something like that. Okay. Or if the creator gives like some kind of homework assignment, like, hey, if this video resonated with you, then download my free lead magnet and get the Like that's an example of you taking an action and actually engaging in the content, right? And all I can say is like, and I don't know if I'm ever going to see Stephen James ever again, but if I ever get the chance, and I'm sure I will actually, I'm confident that I'll cross paths with him at some point. And maybe I've already said this to him at some, because we have hung out a few times, but like he absolutely changed my life. And the thing is like, he changed my life when he didn't even know I existed. Because when you're hitting the record button, we don't know who's watching or listening to this right now. Right. But if it impacts at least one life, then it was worth our time, wasn't it?
Exactly. That's it. We're putting free content out in the world, and if we help one person, that's what matters.
Absolutely. That's the only thing that really otherwise, why would we sit down and actually use our time to do this? Like you and I are both passionate people. We're both ADHD. We're both entrepreneurs. Yeah. You don't become an entrepreneur unless you foolishly believe that you can change the world. And we are changing the world, but sometimes, we do need to be reminded that we are making an impact because right now we're talking to cameras, but we have to be mindful that there's someone on the other side of it, right? Someone with real problems.
So I'm also sitting here thinking about Michael Burnoff. He was talking about one of the hacks. One of the hacks is like if you're driving somewhere to put a video on or an audio book or a podcast or something like that. So it's passively learning. Yeah. So I don't know if you can speak to this or if you know anything about this, but so a lot of times I'll passively listen, and especially if it's something that I've already listened to, and so I'm not consciously learning anything, but subconsciously maybe I am learning something. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Tony Robbins calls it NET, no extra time. Okay. And I'm a big believer behind this. This is why a lot of people will exercise while they're listening to a podcast or while they're on a long drive. I do it all the time as well. I have YouTube Premium, so I can download YouTube videos. And then because here in Costa Rica, you don't always have a signal. And while I'm driving, I will play like an Alex Hormozi video in the background because I just think the guy is amazing and everything he preaches aligns with the kind of person and professional that I want to be and that's the entrepreneur I want to be. But here's the challenge with that passive learning. Every once in a while, he'll say something on a YouTube video that I know I need to make a note of and I can't because I'm driving. So I either have to like stop and pull over and make that note on my phone or send myself a voice note or I'm getting in the weeds now, but as long as when you're doing that passive learning, you have some way to capture those critical insights or sound bites that you need to come back to. Because when I'm passive learning, I'm aware of my own psychology that if I don't make a note of it right now, or if I don't convince myself that I need, I'll tell myself, don't delete that video. I need to come back to that video when I'm actually sitting at my desk or when I'm stationary so that I can capture that context or that tip or that strategy that I want to apply to my own business or my own life. So I think that's the danger with passive learning. It's just being engaged enough in the content so that you know to revisit it. Because how many Here's the best example I can give to you. How many times have you gone to a conference and you're like, damn, this is life-changing stuff. You leave and you didn't do anything and you lost it all.
Right.
It's happened to me multiple times. If you don't figure out a way to, maybe this is too in the weeds now, but people are now wearing Mike Dudley. You know, I both know Mike Dudley from Genius Network. He's got that like AI assistant thing. That's
Claude.
like, is that what it's called?
Claude.ai. Yeah, I have one of those. It's great. It's amazing.
There you go. So it's just recording everything. And so you could literally talk to yourself like, hey, send me an email, remind me about the da-da-da-da-da. And then at least, yeah, if you're doing, like, I gotta get myself one of those. Gotta get myself one of those because next time I go.
I have the one that looks like a credit card. Does he have the one that
he had something around his neck.
Okay, I think they make a new one. It's different, but I think it does the same thing.
Yeah.
And I use it. It's great. It'll give you like a bullet point summary of.
So there you go.
And then you can listen to the transcript. You can listen to it. You can re-listen to it. You can re-listen to it at a faster speed. Yeah. And then it'll also transcribe the entire conversation.
So when you're driving and you're doing that passive consumption because you're just you're a busy person and you're trying to maximize your time, pause the YouTube video, quickly talk to your AI assistant that you have with you and say, hey, send me this text, send me this email, and then hit the play button and keep going. But like that's what you have to have something. I don't know. It doesn't have to be that, but it has to be something. Otherwise it will disappear.
Yeah. There's always, when I'm passively listening, like my mind will go other places. I'm thinking about other things, but then I'll hear something. Yeah. And so typically that's kind of what happens to me is I'll, if I get one or two things out of it that I remember, but I do need to write it down or I'll lose it. And then I also was thinking about going to a conference or an event like Genius Network. And I think when I first started attending Genius Network, or I first joined, I would have like 20 or 30 things that I wanted to implement at the end. And what I've realized is if I just walk away with 2 or 3 things to implement, it's much easier. It's much more doable.
Yeah. Well, Genius Network has these amazing tools that they give out to us. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, in my first year, I always used them. I'll be honest with you. And I think Genius Network supports do whatever works for you. Mm-hmm. I ended up taking bits and pieces of all of those little job aids. I call them job aids. I don't think that's what they call them. And I just put them all in one document, on a Word doc. And so when I'm at the event virtually, I just fill in the one document.
Okay.
So I have one document for every, because it dramatically increases my ability to take action on those tips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go. I don't want to make you too late or anything either, but
no, I think we're good.
And like I said, I'm serious. I'll help you guys.
Okay. So some people stop at personal healing, but you built a mission from it. So, we already talked about that. Okay. Your recovery path includes things that wouldn't be found in most treatment plans. So what are some of the unexpected tools that helped you, things beyond traditional therapy, which we kind of have already talked about?
Yeah. YouTube. Yeah. I think it's YouTube because it's free university. And when you're trying to access high quality content, you can't pay for it and you can't convince those high quality people to spend time with you. YouTube is I don't know of a better option than YouTube. But then in my particular situation, I was too afraid to admit my situation to my mom. Once I finally had the courage to admit the situation to my mom, she was actually the key to unlock my situation. She without her encouragement and her love and support in that moment, I don't want to think about where I would be right now. It's too scary. So it's the combination of the two. Making sure you're willing to be vulnerable with loved ones the kinds of loved ones that no matter who you are or what you've done, they're always going to have your back. And then the law of 5, surrounding yourself with the 5 people, but you can't get direct access to them. Make sure you're consuming their YouTube content on a daily basis, because that whether you're actively learning or passively listening to it in the background, I feel like there's like a programming thing. I don't know if this is real. I think there's a programming, because all of a sudden the language that I use on a daily basis started to change. Like, oh shit, I haven't used that word before. Where the hell did that come from? And I think it's just because I surround myself with very carefully crafted. Are you going to YouTube to learn about the Kardashians? And I couldn't tell you a single name of the Kardashians. Or are you binge watching Alex Hormozi content that can help you grow your business? And maybe for you, it's not Alex Hormozi. Maybe for you, it's someone completely different. But again, pay very close attention to the kind of content you're consuming every day.
Yeah.
Have you become what you consume?
Yeah. Binge watch the content that's going to help you get to where you want to be. So when did you notice so you attracted to R. When did you notice that you started attracting different people into your life? Or did you notice that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, well, joining Genius Network.
Because now now I'm sure that you attract a different type of person than you did in 2018.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You mean like personal relationship, like my romantic partner?
Both.
Oh, okay.
I mean, people in general, generally speaking, you attract different people in your life today than you did 5 or 10 years ago.
Okay. I spent a lot of time thinking about this recently. This is a recent recollection of mine. I was at an entrepreneur event. It was a like men's only entrepreneur thing. It was in Phoenix. We were all sitting around the table, and the facilitator said, "How about we take turns going around the table talking about things that we're grateful for?" Right? And it's the kind of conversation that you have with a certain type of person, because like that's a very intentional type conversation. And I'm thinking, and finally it gets back to now it's my turn, and it just kind of came out of me. And I said, I can attribute all of the results and outcomes in my life today, 95% of the outcomes that appear successful, 95% of those outcomes are directly attributed to the people I surround myself with. I will take credit for 5%. And everyone went, holy crap. Because everyone was like, me too. So that it's just because it's cliche to say, it doesn't make it any less true. You're the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. Yes, it's a saying that's used too much. But I think people say it and they don't do it. And I think that's the difference between why so few people achieve success in life and the majority fall below their expectations. Like how many, I can't remember who originally said this, but like how many people look at their lives and their current age and get down on themselves because when they were a kid, they truly envisioned that they would have been further along in their life by the point that they're at today. That's a butchering. I didn't say it right, but you get the point. And I think the top 1%, the top 10%, whatever, I think they are able to see the matrix for what it is and realize that it's all about who you spend most of your time with. And you're naturally going to elevate because Tony Robbins talks about this too. You don't, what is the line now? You don't rise to your expectations, you fall to, you don't rise to your goals, you fall to everyone else's expectations. I'm going to butcher this, Navy SEALs, you're fit, you're healthy, you're getting sleep, you're eating right, all of this stuff. And then you leave the military and all of a sudden those good habits just kind of fall, unless you're David Goggins. Your habits are kind of fall by the wayside because now you're no longer surrounded by a peer group that holds you to that higher bar. It's all about your environment. It's all about, if you're practicing sobriety, if you want to be a healthy, fit person, go hang out at the gym. You will naturally become a healthy, fit person. If you don't want to be a healthy, fit person, go hang out with people that want to eat ice cream every day after work. I don't know what, that's a terrible example, but.
Well, it's like Ben Hardy wrote the book, Willpower Doesn't Work. He talks about it's environment. Environment always wins. And if you're spending time with people so it's someone that's newly sober, it's like you got to change everything. New eating habits, new sleeping habits. You pray and meditate. You do a gratitude list. You exercise. You spend your time with different people, new hobbies, everything has to change. And going back to the path of least resistance, it's always easier to go back to what you know. It's always easier to go back to hanging out with people at the bar, not exercising, not doing healthy things.
So how do you change what you know?
First off, being aware of it. And then number 2, it's all about action. It doesn't matter how you feel. It matters what you do.
Right.
And so you put it down on paper, like these are the things that I need to be doing. And so for me, it was starting by making my bed first thing in the morning. And I would pray, I'd meditate, I'd do a gratitude list. I'd share my gratitude list with at least 3 people per day. I'd go to a meeting every single day. So it's just putting a plan down on paper. This is in my opinion, in my experience, putting a plan down on paper. You know what you need to do, and it doesn't matter how you feel. It matters what you do.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't matter how you feel. Emotions are the biggest trick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Doug Brackman talks about this as well. The human brain is a time machine. And when he said that, I was like, wait a minute, what? Say that again? And he explained it to me. He's like, the human brain is a time machine. You're either thinking about memories, is something that happened in the past that really doesn't matter anymore.
Really doesn't matter.
Or you're worried about something that hasn't occurred yet. And the hardest thing to do is just be present, be in the moment.
Yeah, and what do they say? If you're thinking about the future, that creates anxiety. You're thinking about the past, it creates regret.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
So it's like being present, being in the now, doing the next right thing, is always the way to, I guess, happiness. I mean, we just want to be happy, joyous, and free.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Which sounds simple, but we overcomplicate it. And I swear, like, actually I should share this. A friend of mine that, well, we're not super tight, but whenever we catch up, right? I found out through a mutual friend, he was near death for like 3 months, 2.5, 3 months. He was in the hospital. He's liver failure. And his skin turned bright yellow, like everything turned bright yellow. And, he's back home now, thankfully. He received a liver transplant. He's got someone else's liver.
Wow. Okay.
And so now, because of this, and I'm not an expert at this, but my understanding is now he's under receiving steroids for the rest of his life.
Okay.
So his body doesn't reject the organ, but very strict protocol, which ties into what we're talking about here. Never again will he ever touch alcohol. The doctors said, nope, that's life threatening to you now.
Right.
And, like other things too, like sushi, raw fish, just all kinds of things. I was like, holy jeez. Like, so saved his life. He's alive.
Right.
And all he has to do is avoid alcohol. So extreme example.
Right.
But now sobriety.
Right.
Only way forward.
Right.
And, I don't know, like, actually this is an interesting conversation. Like in this situation, it saved his life. Ever since joining Genius Network, and can you, maybe you have the data on this? You probably do have it. Ever since joining Genius Network, I've noticed a crazy high percentage of people who don't drink. And everyone has different reasons. But I'm like, wait a second. Here I am surrounded by all these successful business owners and entrepreneurs. Right. Do you have the numbers? Like how many?
I don't have the numbers. However, I believe that's across the board. I've noticed it too, because when I first got sober in 2011, if I said, I say I don't drink, I tell people, and they're like, oh, what are you, an alcoholic? And that was the first. So back then, 5-10 years ago, even a few years ago, if you didn't drink, people were like, well, why don't you drink? Whereas
something was wrong with you.
Yeah, something was wrong. Whereas today, it seems like there's more and more people that are just not drinking, because the message is out in the open that drinking is not good for you. There's nothing good about drinking. And so not as many people drink these days. That's been my experience. So I know a lot. Yeah, it's on its way out. There's more and more people that they just don't drink, not because they're alcoholic. It's just because they don't want to drink.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so, so I lived in Costa Rica.
Right.
And I got stem cells, almost a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And like the real proper stem cells, not like, like, let's get your own stem. Like my stem cells are old. I don't want my stem cells. I want the proper way. And so the doctor puts you on a protocol before and after. It's very serious. It's very strict. No alcohol, no sugar, no gluten, no shrimp, no red meat. Okay. Cut out anything that causes inflammation.
Okay.
And when you're spending a lot of money on stem cells, you're gonna like, hey, whatever I gotta do, man.
Yeah.
Like let me know. And because you're trying to reduce the inflammation so the stem cells do what they're designed to do. So it's like, it comes to like 50 days. At the end, and it was no coffee. And at the end of the 50 days, guess what I did? At the end of 50 days, I was like, I do not miss alcohol. I made the world's most beautiful coffee though. I love my coffee. I mean, come on, I'm just like, and coffee here in this country is just so good. So I made myself a coffee, and I love my coffee. I just do. And I realize that caffeine probably isn't the healthiest thing in the world either, but I don't put garbage in my coffee. I drink my coffee black. But I said, we're talking about alcohol. I said, I don't miss alcohol. It's been 50 days. I wonder if I could do 3 months. I did 3 months. I wonder if I could do 6 months. I did 6 months. I wonder if I could do a year. I did a year. And during that year, I went to Vegas for a conference that I was speaking at. And I extended the trip because I had some time to kill. So I was in Vegas for 8 days.
Okay.
Didn't touch a drop. I had a blast. I had so much fun. Yeah. So like this whole, like, it's the biggest lie in the world. Like, oh, I can't, like, I want to have fun. Like, what? Really? So, and I ended up doing 14 months without a single drop. And it was Christmas time, and my girlfriend was like, hey, do you want a drink? And I'm like, okay, sure. Let's have it. And honestly, I had one drink and I felt like shit. Yeah. I feel like your body just adjusts to living like a
Feel like
lifestyle.
shit.
And
If you're drinking, you just get used to feeling that way. If you're
it becomes your norm.
one, if you're eating shitty food, your body kind of gets used to it.
That too.
Yeah.
I went to my buddy's wedding. I've known this guy for 20 years. I'm like, okay, I'll have a drink, but I don't enjoy it. I identify as someone who doesn't drink, but I'll have a drink like once a year.
And there are more and more people these days just like you.
Yeah.
There were less people like you that were, the quote unquote normies that didn't drink. But that's been my experience. I know a lot of people that I hang out with that don't drink just because I don't drink, therefore they don't drink either, and there's no reason to drink, and people that don't drink feel better. There's nothing good about drinking.
Yeah, well, and I think there's certain cultures that I'm a Canadian, and Canadians love their beers, and I used to work on cruise ships where you could get a beer for $1.
Okay.
You want to talk about alcoholism? It's rampant on cruise ships.
I believe it.
Worked on cruise ships for 3 years, and yeah, so I think there's unfortunately a cultural stress, but I agree with you. I think here in 2025 and beyond, I feel like the lights have turned on. But I'm noticing a pattern, man. Success leaves clues. Every time I find myself in a room like Genius Network, surrounded by very successful, very wealthy, very respected, very people that you look up to, people that you admire, I'm like, geez, that's so and so. I've been watching their YouTube videos for a year, and like, wow, he doesn't drink, she doesn't drink, he doesn't drink. Like, this is like I'm seeing a pattern.
I don't know if, and you might be able to speak to this more so than myself. When I used to go to conferences and events, it seemed like a lot of conferences and events, there was more drinking. Genius Network is the main one that I go to now. And so not many people are drinking. To your point, you look around and most people aren't drinking. Nobody drinks. It's not a big thing. Is it like that at other conferences and events as well?
Well, I go, no. I think it's like the 80-20 principle, and maybe it's not always 80-20, but like I go to Vid Summit every year. It's very much founded by Daryl Leaves, the YouTube GOAT, my mentor. He now co-owns Vid Summit with Mr. Beast and Sean Doris.
Okay.
And I go every year. It's October this year. And they always have a big party the first night. It's a huge party, and there's alcohol everywhere. But there's always a segment that like you can tell. You can just tell.
Yeah.
You can just tell like who's drinking and who's like, that's not for me. Right. And I normally gravitate. I'm like actually in that event. I mean, at Genius Network, you don't feel like the weirdo, do you? Because you're surrounded by like fellow ADHD entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Well, at Vid Summit, I don't feel like the weirdo because I'm surrounded by YouTube geeks. And so yeah, there's alcohol, but yeah, I want to be able to get a good sleep. Conferences are like very high energy. Is the kind of conference where I know I'm only going to get 4 hours of sleep every night. Mm-hmm. So that sleep better be high quality. And if I have one beer, it's going to screw that up.
Right.
So I think Genius Network is unique, and I'm sure there's a lot of high end masterminds connection networks out there that are probably the same. I'd like to think, I don't know. Genius Network is the only high level group that I'm a part of. But I'm part of a number of communities, and I would say that alcohol is more common in the other communities. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So now if you could sit down with your younger self before 2018, before rock bottom, what would you want your younger self to know?
Great question. This is one of those questions where I feel like I change my answer a little bit every time, but there is a common thread, a silver lining to all of them. In the last 10 or so years, I've cultivated a practice of whenever a challenge or opportunity presents itself and it scares me, I have to say yes. I wish I adopted that sooner, because I'm a huge introvert, mm-hmm. and definitely struggled with social anxiety when I was younger, and felt scared and fearful a lot when I had no business being scared. It's amazing how often in life where you will come up with a story in your head, you will convince yourself that story is true, like, oh, so-and-so hates me. Mm-hmm. And then you get access to better information or more accurate information. And the other person is like, no, what are you talking about? Like, my number changed. I didn't text you back because I had to change my number because I lost my tone or whatever.
Right.
Like, it's some stupid reason.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, so how often in life did you convince yourself you fabricated a fake story in your mind, but you convinced yourself that it was true? I wish I learned that lesson earlier in life. And if I could sit down with my younger self, I'd say, listen, you're going to make mistakes and that's fine. If anything, I would push my younger self to make those mistakes earlier and more often, because then you're going to achieve the results in life that much quicker. The mistakes are part of life and make you the man that you'll become, and don't be afraid of those mistakes. But I would also tell my younger self, anytime something scares you, just say yes and do it.
Nice. Love it. So for anyone who's listening right now, who's living in the shadow of a loved one's addiction, what's one small step they can take today to reclaim their life?
One small step, because I'm thinking of like 12 different things right now, of course, right? One small step to reclaim their life. Remind yourself it might be your fault or someone else's fault for your current circumstance. It's not a good use of your time or energy to define whose fault it is. I don't care whose fault it is. It's still your responsibility to change the tide, to shift the momentum. Mm-hmm. It will be your responsibility. If you don't own up to the responsibility, you will play the victim your entire life. And then one day you will wonder what happened. Like where did this all, and it's the frog in the water that slowly, and you will wonder how the hell you found yourself in that circumstance. I've left careers, I left a marriage because I was that frog in the water temperature situation. And luckily I had a wake up call, but I had the courage to take action. So that one small thing is you need to define how you're going to cultivate that courage. I can't tell you how that's going to work for you. No one can. For me, it was YouTube videos. That was the spark. That was that initial kindling that gave me the fuel, and that fueled the fire. And now I'm the person I am today. Yeah. But I cannot tell anyone what that small thing will be, but it's that courage to take action. We said it earlier. It's all about what you do. There's a study out there that said we judge ourselves by intent. We judge others by action. That's ridiculous, right? Mm-hmm. It's so stupid. We should be judging ourselves by our own actions as well, right? If I'm a potato couch every day, binge watching Netflix, I can't complain that I'm not in the physical shape that I want to be in. Right. You're about to jump on a 5-day journey on a bicycle, and the only way you can do that, I'm so envious, the only way you can do that is because you respect yourself. You take good care of yourself. Drinking is only one part of that puzzle. Right. It's only one piece of the puzzle.
It's a small piece.
You do a lot.
Right.
And you take action. So you can look at yourself in the mirror and with pride because you take action to make those steps in your life. I can't tell anyone what that small thing is, but they need to have the courage to take action.
I love that. It's because being a victim is never going to help you get to where you want to be. So it's ultimate responsibility. And people may have done things to you. People may have hurt you, and you might have been that frog in the boiling water and it was turned up slowly. But as soon as you realize, the sooner you have the courage to take action, the better off you're going to be. So it's taking full responsibility for where you're at in your life is going to be the best thing you can do. So love that.
Yeah, it might not be your fault where you're at. I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's not important. Yeah. It's only what you do today with the information that you have access to. And then tomorrow you're going to get better information because you're going to get better access.
So we're coming up to the end of the interview. Is there anything that I missed? Anything else you want to talk about? Any other questions I should have asked you?
I don't think so. This was powerful. I really enjoyed this. Thanks for having me. And you do amazing work at Camelback. And if there's anything about this video or this episode that resonated with you and you're in a dark time in your life, watch another one of Tim's videos, listen to another one of his podcasts. It costs you nothing and you're only going to benefit by it.
Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate you. And where can people find you? How can they, if they want to learn more about you, if they want to watch your channel, how can they connect with you?
I have multiple YouTube channels, getting ready to launch another one here pretty soon. And LinkedIn is the best way to connect with me. I think there's just, it's the most mature platform out there. Uh-huh. A lot less shenanigans going on. Call me crazy. I don't like to interact with a picture of a cat. Blazer687. Yeah, not interested. LinkedIn is probably the best way to ping me.
Awesome. Andrew, thank you so much. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next video. Thanks so much for listening to I Love Being Sober. I hope you got something valuable from today's episode. And if you're looking for more resources on recovery, mental health, or any of the therapies we talk about, head over to camelbackrecovery.com. You can find more episodes, blog posts, and ways to connect. Until next time, take care of yourself, keep growing, and keep living a kick-ass sober life.